Hi everyone, welcome to John's Briefs. Here again with Tim Forsey, the defensive attorney extraordinaire.
Briefs. You guys get that? Yeah.
There's jokes there. We got jokes. Is that I do wear briefs though, but you're not going to see them. But actually, people have seen them on my Facebook because I've been getting buff. But anyhow, we had a video on the channel recently of some stupidity. A little Donnybrook at the self-checkout counter at the grocery store.
That's why I'm wary of self-checkout counters, it turns out.
It turns out.
I've never liked those things. So.
But we're going to talk about here this defensive display of a firearm because this guy got hemmed up.
Yep.
To win the fight after the fight, you need help. After a use of force, I trust Firearm's legal protection to help me win the fight for the rest of my life. From their 24/7 attorney-answered hotline to coverage for the use of all legal tools, Firearm's legal protection has you covered. Get a discount by signing up at the link below.
Gonna see a guy in a green vest come from the right here, and as he comes, he's gonna get into some kind of a verbal altercation with the guy coming around in the gray sweatshirt. Now, they're gonna argue for quite a few seconds. It's gonna skip ahead here in just a second. I don't know what the argument was over, but watch what goes down here as the guy in the gray, who's now on our right, is going to, for whatever reason, draw a pistol from his side and show it to him. Now, again, the news story says, hey, you better get it, that he said to the guy in green, you better get out of here before I cap you or before I shoot you. And then he's just going to kind of watch him there as he goes. Now, you can see him, he's still got the gun in his hand, and he is going to then put his stuff down at the self-checkout. And now this portion of it is interesting too, because he's going to switch the gun to his left hand and then pull his crappy nylon holster out, switch the gun back around and fumble fart with it a little bit, put it back in the holster and put it back on him. And then just casually walk out. Well, one of the bystanders called 911 when he saw the guy pull a gun out like this. And cops showed up, arrested this guy, interviewed him as well as the guy in the green vest. And they ended up charging him with several felonies. Now, I couldn't find any news story on how it adjudicated, but I do have some occasional inside baseball on this stuff and was able to find out that it looks like that this man has pled guilty to felonious assault, which is the same charge as assault with a deadly weapon, which can carry a sentence of up to 4 years in prison. So this got him in quite a bit of trouble. So you might remember that from the channel. And, you know, Tim, we see this kind of stuff, and I know you get to see these kinds of charges go down all the time.
Yeah.
That somebody feels like I need to get a gun in this situation and show people that I'm serious about this stuff. And then they end up with charges. In fact, so I tell this story all the time. It was a few years ago now that we did a fairly large seminar. There was 100 people there or so for firearms legal protection in town. And this guy in the middle of this seminar, I'm on stage talking, and he's like, so I had this road rage scenario show up, and this guy and I were jawing at each other, and then we get to a light, and he jumps out of his car, and I took my .45 and I put it down on the dashboard of my car to let him know that I was serious.
I meant business.
I meant business. And he got back in his car, and I was like, sir, you just admitted to aggravated assault here, everyone. He's like, what? No, I can do that. And Tim literally stood up and said, sir, I'm a criminal defense attorney in town, and I've bought 3 houses from clients like you. So thank you for paying my mortgage all this time.
We both tried to tell the guy politely why that was not a good idea and how lucky he was that it didn't turn into something way worse than it did. And he resisted us and said, no, it was right. What I did was right. And I finally said, you know what, sir, that kind of thinking has paid for my houses, and I can't thank you enough for being stupid like that. So just keep it up, and hopefully you don't hurt anybody, and you keep paying for lawyers' houses.
May the Lord bless you and keep you and make his face to smile upon you. I'm just telling you, I was like, dude, if that guy, when he got back to his car and called the cops, you would have gotten a bologna sandwich courtesy of the state that night.
Yep.
And that is a joke, right? After they book you in, eventually you'll get a meal, and it's going to be not Oscar Mayer bologna, okay, at the county jail. So what happens in your cases when you see guys like this stuff?
Defensive display is a relatively new statute in Arizona. I think it's been around for just a little over a decade.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, as most statutes go, that's pretty new, right? There's not a lot of case law. I don't think there's any appellate law on it yet.
I haven't seen any.
Basically, it says that, I was very succinctly, I'm paraphrasing, if you think you're about to get your ass kicked, you can demonstrate that you're in possession, that you're able to use lethal force in order to dissuade the ass kicking.
Right.
So you say, oh, really? And you come at me and I'm afraid I'm going to get punched. I can say, hey, man, I've got a gun. Back off. Don't make me use my gun. In theory, I can.
But it's a bluff because you can't use it.
In theory, I can pull my jacket over and go, "Oh, really? You want to mess with me and Mr. Smith and Mr. Wesson?" You know, some really cool, dirty Harry type of terminology, just to let you know I'm serious about it.
It would be Mr. Heckler and Mr. Coke.
Mr. Heckler and Mr. Coke. You know. But the point is, in theory, that's legal. What I've experienced, I think I've kept track of this stuff. If not mistaken, I'm on my 10th case now, which I might be hiring Mr. Expert here to help me on that case. It's a new case. But I think all but one of those cases, my client brought it up. They had probably heard about it on the internet, or they read about it somewhere, and they decided, hey man, this way I can go out and use this offensively. Like I can bump into people, and if they push me back, I can show, oh yeah, I really want to mess with you, dude, I got a gun. And they learned the hard way that can turn into aggravated assault really easily, right?
We don't have a brandishing charge in Arizona. Nope. We only have ag assault.
And it's a big one. It's a 3 dangerous felony. So you're looking at, with no priors, 7.5 years in prison presumptively. So
Class 3, dangerous, designated.
Yep. And so if you're using it offensively, if you're going around acting like the biggest kid on the playground because you know about this new law, it's probably not going to work out real well for you. Mm-mm. If you were ignorant of it and didn't really know it existed, but I drew my gun because I thought you were about to start attacking me, and then I didn't shoot, I holstered the gun or something like that. Maybe then I called the police. Maybe I'm on the side of the angels there. In theory, that's legal under that statute, which is 426, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
426. But there's not a lot of case law on it. And, you know, as we always say, it's better not to get involved in this than it is to try to get out of it once you're involved. That's for damn sure. So, but yes, in theory, defensive display of a weapon is legal in Arizona. And I'm sure there's other states that are following suit on that.
Right.
But man, if you're falling back on that to defend yourself, that's not a good position to be in.
Well, and thinking about the optics of what happened here that you saw on camera, right? On this particular case, there's an argument brewing.
And we don't really know what it was about, do we?
No. Yeah. But I mean, even if he's like, you know what, I'm going to rip your tongue out and feed it to my children tonight. Okay, you're talking a big game, buddy, but do you have the ability to do that to me? Are you actually doing that thing to me? No. And so let me create a little space and be like, dude, back away from me, man. Because when I go, oh yeah, and let me show you I got a gun, what does it look like to everybody around? You pulled a gun on a guy over an argument. And then what is everybody in the room going to report to the police?
You're the bad guy.
And you're the bad guy. And then the other guy, he's sure not going to say, well, I did.
I provoked him. I really shouldn't have said that. No, of course not.
You know, I really did tell him that I was going to eat his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. You know, that's, okay, if you get that joke, schedule your colonoscopy, okay? That's a dated pop culture reference. And you know, he's not going to say that. He's just not. So you're just setting yourself up for bad news.
You're literally holding the bag.
Right.
On video, don't forget. So
so if you know, and I always tell folks, look, I have had a gun out and on somebody one time in my life. Thankfully, I've never had to shoot somebody. And terrible day, horrible bad juju here, and never want to do that again. And you don't want to do that, because it's going to be a bad day. And all ended up fine in my case. Everybody's okay. But in this case, if you look at that, he's facing major charges. He's facing felony charges.
And where did this occur? Do you recall where it was again?
Michigan, I think.
Michigan. You know, again, Michigan, lots of CCW holders. In Arizona, I pull a gun in public. I'm standing there with a gun in my hand, and I'm likely to get shot.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's going to be crossfire.
There's going to be people that see me with a gun that are trying to be heroes, and they've carried a gun every day. They're kind of hoping maybe someday they get an excuse to use their gun. There's that guy out there, I'm sorry to tell you. You know, you might get shot, and you learn the lesson even harsher.
Yep. So, don't do this. This is bad. All those charges are bad. You heard Tim. You're going to end up facing a bunch of charges. You're going to stroke some serious checks to your attorney. And here's the thing. Even if you had something like firearms legal protection in this case, can you articulate that threat? That's one where they're going to look at that long and hard and go, was this a defensive display, or was this an aggressive act? Because of course, okay, so you know, I have FLP, but if I go try to rob the liquor store down the street, they're not going to cover me using my gun.
Laugh at you and hang up.
Yeah,
they should.
Yeah. And because again, I was the aggressor in that case. I'm not going to rob a liquor store, but you get my point. You don't want to be the aggressor.
I always preach this. I think that John and I have had this discussion before, but I always preach about the 3 C's: concealment, common sense, and courtesy, right? And the beauty of concealment, where it's legally allowed, and in theory, that's most places now, but well, we'll see how the Bruin wave washes over the country, but in theory, that's legal. if your gun's concealed, what's that mean? It doesn't mean people can't see your gun. It means that no one knows you have a gun. And if no one knows you have a gun, it is literally impossible to get in trouble because of your gun. So until it must be unconcealed, for God's sakes, keep your gun concealed. And why would you go around talking about the fact that you've got a gun? To me, that's even dumber.
Right.
I mean, not just tipping your hand. It just doesn't make sense. So yeah, concealment and common sense and courtesy. If you can combine those three things, you're going to live a much happier, safer life. That's for sure.
What a lesson you just got today. Concealment, courtesy, and common sense keep you out of charges.
Just about all
Hey,
trouble.
another C. That's good. We've got more. The Baptist preacher in me is so happy.
And then you won't need to use your credit card. There's
Yeah.
some more,
Oh
so.
boy. Yes, absolutely. So don't be stupid, everybody. Tim,
Be
I
smart,
sure
be
appreciate
safe.
it.
Thanks, buddy. As always, great to see you.